From the Tour Down Under, welcome to the GCN Tech Show.
We're back with all that's hot in the world of tech.
Yeah, this week we discuss, are top-end bikes really that different from one another?
Yeah, we have all the news and the gossip from the tech world, and we induct our latest product into the GCN Wall of Fame. The sunburn looks like it's going down, John.
Yeah, I was wondering when you'd bring that up, mate.
Yeah. All right, then, John, tell us everything. How was the Tour Down Under?
Oh, it was red hot sunburn. Interestingly enough, it was fantastic just to get a glimpse of those early season 2018 bikes.
Yeah.
Interestingly as well, Quick-Step Floors as well as Trek Segafredo are using disc brakes. Yeah, I can hear some of the gasps already at home. But only half of the squads there were using them. Yeah.
That's weird. Why were they doing that? Any ideas?
I'd imagine just logistics, because it's a lot of wheels suddenly to be taking, isn't it, to the other side of the world.
Well, yeah, but you'd have thought you'd need to take double if half your riders are on discs and half your riders are on rim brakes.
Not every team as well had their full array of sponsored bikes as well for the year. So some were actually using old stems, non-sponsored, and some of the spare bikes were using old power meters, that kind of thing. So not everything has made its way to the Tour Down Under quite yet.
Supply does take a while, doesn't it? Given how many products that brands need to supply teams with, it's way more than you'd ever think. Like hundreds and hundreds of group sets and things, isn't it? It's utterly mind-blowing. So yeah, you can see why there'd be a little bit delayed. And what about that specialised power meter? That was one of your things to target, wasn't it? Did you find a specialised power meter?
Well, I went all the way to Adelaide, and yet I found that specialised branded power meter. On close inspection, it does just look like a 4i branded unit. Had a nice 3D printed cover on it though. So yeah, I found it.
Well, that is good, John, because unfortunately, it seems like you went all the way to Adelaide, and actually, it's been right here under our noses all along. Our friends at the Global Triathlon Network unwittingly discovered the new specialised power meter. So get this, right? It's on the pro triathlete Vicky Holland's Pro bike. Okay. It is a carbon specialised S-Works crank with the sensors, strain gauges, look like they're mounted on the left-hand side. There is a web page devoted to this on the specialised website, although with no images. But it says it's 440 grams, dual-sided, and there we go. So bizarre state of affairs in that Specialised a picture of half-released power meter, but not told anyone about it.
Yeah.
So there we go. Anyway, Global Triathlon Network got the scoop. There is a new Specialised power meter. In fact, Specialised have been busy because not only have they got was it new shoes, new helmets?
Yeah. So Quick-Step Floors actually posted this image from the Tour de San Juan, but actually removed it. Not before though, someone else had already regrammed it, and here it is.
So this is a true spy shot of a new bike. I mean, it looks pretty finished, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so one imagines there's going to be a release coming up soon. But yeah, that is very nice looking. Right, away from race-oriented tech now. What if we told you that you could convert your bike into an e-bike in just 30 seconds?
Well, most of you would probably laugh. I know I would if I heard that without knowing anything more. But ELECTRON have just launched this 400-watt front-wheel e-bike conversion kit. It's got a 50-mile range and goes up to 20 miles per hour.
Yeah, now it does take a reasonably long time to charge, about 5 hours. But what is very cool about this is that there is no throttle on the handlebar. Instead, what you do is you mount a sensor to your pedals that connects wirelessly to your front wheel, and it tells it when you are pedaling. So it's a genuine pedal assist.
Yeah. And also you actually set the desired output or desired assistance via an app before you go out riding. So low, medium or high.
Yeah, genius. It's available in 26-inch and 700C versions, rim brake only at the moment, and it only weighs casual 8.4 kilograms. So relatively weighty for a front wheel.
It's quite heavy, that.
Yeah, but it is only $800, so that's not bad.
I'll tell you what, with that weight and some pretty strong crosswinds, I don't fancy, not with these arms, riding that in windy weather. But
I'll tell you what though, I bet it goes up really steep hills brilliantly. There's no way you'll topple over backwards. You can have anything with that. Yeah. Right, anyway, more tech coming up later in the show. I mean, let's start with aerodynamics, shall we? I think the difference between an aero frame and a purely lightweight frame is one that you can feel out on the road. I can see it on my commute home. I'm a k an hour faster, genuinely.
Okay, well, between different aero frames, yeah, maybe there is some slight differences, but ultimately all bikes are sort of converging into one in that area, aren't they? The silhouette of those frame shapes of those aero bikes are all looking pretty similar, aren't they? I mean, there can only be one aerodynamic super winner.
That is true, yeah. There is only one fastest frame shape, but I don't think that's a bad thing, because drop seat stays and horizontal top tubes look pretty cool, if you ask me. I think it's really hard, though, to actually buy a bike based purely on its aerodynamic performance, because it's hard to find the data to really split them apart. Whereas at least if you're buying something on the basis of lightweight, then it's simple. You stick two bikes on a set of scales, one is going to be lighter than the other, and therefore theoretically that one is going to require less effort to ride up a hill, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be exceedingly difficult to actually measure a significant difference between two top-end bikes out on the open road.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless, of course, you're comparing apples and oranges, so a super aero bike versus a super lightweight bike, for example.
That is true, and I do take that on board, but even if you can't measure a difference, it doesn't mean that you can't feel a difference. And because I really think that you can actually feel a difference between superbikes. And so what's that all about then?
That's harder to market, really. Geometry, for example, I mean, that's the soul of a bike, isn't it? So that determines how a bike corners, how it feels when you get out of the saddle.
I mean, even the very carbon layup, often linked to just stiffness and comfort, but it's actually more nuanced than that. I had a very interesting conversation with a guy from Cervelo when I was at the R5 launch last May, and he was telling me about these special glasses that they'd invented, right? And they allow you to see where you're going when you're riding, but they stop you looking down at what you are riding. And so you can effectively do blind testing. And he reckoned that a rider can tell the difference between two bikes that have different carbon layups but are otherwise totally identical. And that kind of blew me away, actually. That really did take me by surprise.
Yeah, I mean, using longer sections of carbon ply versus shorter sections, that can really make a difference, can't it, with how a bike rides and how the feel of it. It can turn a good bike into a bad bike if done wrong. You know, the quality control and also the manufacturing process.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big topic in itself, isn't it? The question is though, mate, I suppose, after all of this, does it actually matter? I mean, what do you think?
Do you know what? I reckon, and this is hand on heart, if you were to blindfold a lot of people out there and get them to ride bikes,
they'd probably crash, mate.
Well, yeah. Okay, I think people would struggle to feel the difference. You know, I really do think that. You know, there's a lot of hype, isn't there? You might read something in a magazine or online and then be convinced when you get on that bike that it's going to corner better, it's going to climb better because it has done for one other person. But for you, it might be the absolute opposite because it doesn't respond to your riding characteristics.
That is very true, actually. Yeah. Two people can ride the same bike and have completely different viewpoints on it. For me, it's a bit like the way I kind of see supercars. I mean, I'm super fortunate in that I get to ride super bikes, but I've never sat in the driver's seat of a Porsche 911 or a, excuse me, that wasn't me crying, by the way, I'm just joking, or a you know, a Jaguar, whatever it is. And I probably would sit in the driver's seat of either of those and be totally blown away and think it was the best thing I'd ever driven. But actually, they are incredibly different cars to drive, and someone with the luxury of driving different cars all the time would know which one was better for them and which one wasn't. But even though I'm never going to drive them, it doesn't mean that it's not important or it's not a cool thing. I think it's great, and I think it's exactly the same with bikes. So even if you don't have the luxury of riding a superbike, I think it's fantastic to be into superbikes and why they're different. And if you do have the luxury of riding those superbikes, it doesn't matter if you can only put 100 watts either. You can still love the bike, even if you can't make it go as fast as Alejandro Valverde.
Yeah, you are going to feel fantastic actually riding one of those bikes. I know certainly, you know, the first time I ever made that big step up, really, you know, from almost like an entry-level bike to that next one, and then that next one and next one, you notice it. And
you do.
And you feel, excuse the phrase, like $1 million, you know?
No, it's true. It's absolutely true. Yeah, like a new pair of shoes and a shiny pair of socks.
Yeah, it's good for morale.
That's the budget way of doing it, by the way. Morale socks.
Yeah, very true.
Right, make sure you get involved in the comments section. As always, we are desperate to know what you think about this subject.
Right, more tech now. So look, the French company who actually released the first commercially successful clipless pedals all the way back in 1984, they've just relaunched a new model of their Kyo blade family. Basically, the blade on the underside of the pedal is integrated better for aerodynamics. And the top of the range, with titanium spindles, is just 195 grams a pair.
Wow. That is light.
That is light, isn't it?
Yeah. Stages are now shipping their new LR model. So LR stands for left-right. So these are dual-sided first for stages. They've been developing them for 2 years with Sky. So we have seen them around the place, haven't we? Currently only available on the latest Dura8 and the latest Ultegra models. But if we're talking lightweight, this adds just 35 grams.
That is light, isn't it?
That is
35
super
grams for a dual-sided power meter. Now, we saw a couple of weeks back that Greg Van Avermaet, he's been training out on tubular tyres. And check out this, Luis Leon Sanchez of Astana, he's also a tub user.
Really?
Yeah, cut-off bead on there, tubular tyre, folded up, whacked in that bead on along with the mini pump. I don't know why, because he had a team car following him on all the training rides, but maybe he was riding back to the hotel after the stages at the Tour Down Under. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it's cool, isn't it?
It is cool, actually. I mean, personally, I wouldn't ever train on tubs.
No.
But I kind of like the fact that a pro can do it. Right, one of the things I liked, particularly that you spotted at the Tour Down Under, John, was this custom quick release GPS mount on the front of Sam Bennett of Bora Hansgrohe's bike. Very cool. Obviously, with those specialised aero bars there's not really much round bits of tube to actually clamp anything onto, so quite ingenious. They're using the faceplate at the stem.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and it's got quite a wide faceplate on that stem too, hasn't it? So there's not a lot of room. Now, what about this on John Dibben's bike? A carbon fibre race number holder. Now that is cool. I love it. I love how Sky, they go to these extra lengths, don't they? I haven't seen one on any other bikes down there. No, Si, serious question.
Yeah.
Is that enough to bring you out of retirement to start racing again?
A number holder?
In carbon?
No, not in the slightest, man. It doesn't even make me flinch. I struggle to get excited about number holders. I mean, they're not quite on the spectrum of chain catchers, but it's still a little bit of like something I'm just a bit like, all right, number holder. Right, much as I'm loath to move away from carbon fibre number holders and racing in general, we have some tunes to discuss, more specifically these new Let glasses that have got built-in bone conducting headphones, so you can listen to your tunes whilst you're riding. The theory being that it therefore leaves your ears open to listening out for things like traffic noises and such like. Now, it's not just tunes though, they also help with activity tracking and navigation, and indeed taking phone calls whilst you ride.
Yeah. And they're not just sunglasses, you can also fit prescription lenses as well as photochromic ones. So they're the ones that adjust the tint according to how much sunlight there is. It's an Indiegogo project, so obviously, you need to err on the safe side of caution.
Proceed with caution,
yeah. And they come in at $119.
Wow.
Which isn't bad, is it, really?
That does sound like quite a lot of tech for $119.
Yeah. Now, lastly, Campagnolo. I hope I've said that right, because I get a bit of abuse in the comments, actually, for my pronunciation of Campag.
And SRAM as well.
Yeah, amongst others.
And Paradigm.
Yeah, here we go.
Toupee.
He's lucky I'm not wearing the flip-flops. Anyway, Campy, they've actually got this, a workshop clock. Well, it might not be specific for a workshop, but I want one of those, and for €45, that famous Shield logo on the wall, I think that's all right.
That's pretty cool, actually, isn't it?
Yeah. How about you? Want one?
Well, no, not the clock, but I wouldn't mind a corkscrew, John, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah.
I think the campy corkscrew is a thing of beauty, a work of art.
Yeah, rumour has it, of course, that Dan Lloyd has got a cellar full of those. It's time for the Wall of Fame.
Whoa.
It's the A headset.
Oh. If you got into cycling in the last 20 years, you could be forgiven for not knowing there was another way in which your forks and your stem attached to your bike. For the rest of us though, cue feelings of nostalgia tinged with a little bit of relief.
Yeah, back then, the fork steerer columns basically were custom made for each and every fork. So essentially then the thread was put onto that steerer column, and then the forks were just bolted into the head tube with the headset. The stem was then inserted into the top of that steerer column and held in place with an expander plug. And if you didn't pay particular attention to that expander plug or grease it often, it becomes stuck, and you would know about it as would the mechanic.
That's right. Step forward though, John Rader. So in 1990 at the Mountain Bike World Championships, Rader debuted his invention, the A headset, on a bike that he'd had custom made to his spec by a chap called Ross Schaefer of Salsa Cycles. Now he pitched the idea at the World Championships to Diacomp USA, who then went on to become Cane Creek, which is a name probably familiar to most of us. They saw the genius of his invention and it snowballed from there.
Yeah, and back then, basically most of the mountain bikes that were around were largely rigid, and those headsets, or the original headset, not the A headset, they took such a battering riding off-road, didn't they? I mean, they would come loose and essentially wear out a headset in one ride possibly, because the bearings would be smashed against the cups and they'd be pitted, game over.
They sucked. The A headset's design though meant that those threaded steerers could be got rid of, along with those flipping annoying adjusting and locking nuts that didn't really lock and required enormous spanners. There we go, well prepared. And then it also meant that manufacture could be simplified because you didn't need to have specific length steerer tubes, so they could just make one. It could also be made out of different materials. It didn't have to be made out of steel, so it could be made lighter. Now we have our carbon steerers, of course. Because the stem bolts directly onto the steerer, that was oversized, making the whole thing stiffer. You could adjust it with just a 4 and a 5mm Allen key, which was genius. If you think that I'm getting excited about the A headset, you'd be right. I think it's great.
Yeah. The real success when it started to take off was back in 1992 when that patent was granted. For road cycling, it was probably 94 from memory was the first time I really saw people using it. And then interestingly, the first Tour de France to be won using it was Jan Ullrich back in 1997. So that's quite a lengthy gap. It makes me wonder though, why were road cyclists so slow to adapt to it?
John, we'll be asking this question in 10 years' time as we induct disc brakes into the Hall of Fame. Oh, no. We roadies are slow at embracing new technology. I remember though, everyone was just like, oh, I don't want to adjust the height of my stem using spacers, that's rubbish. But now it's like, spacers, they're so easy. Anyway, please let us know in the comment section what product you think needs to go on the Wall of Fame next week. Product number 4. There's some big ones still to come.
There is.
As well as we need to mine the kind of slightly random bits of our cycling sphere.
Right side, bike of the week time.
Oh yes, come on.
Yeah, I've just finished counting all those votes. Sore fingers going through those ballot papers. But let's remind them at home who was up against who last week.
Go on then.
We had the Specialized Vengevise disc. That's a hell of a mouthful, I have to say. And that was up against the Factor 02.
Oof. Go on then. Results.
Drum roll, please. Okay, with a massive 60% of the vote was the Specialized Vengevise disc.
Really?
Yeah, that's absolutely shocked me. There are that many people out there, after all, who like disc brakes.
Interesting. I must confess, I did vote for the Factor. I went for traditional aesthetics. But it's good to know that there's a lot of people on board the disc brake train. I can see why. That Specialized Vengevise is quite futuristic, isn't it? And it promised an awful lot in terms of aerodynamics. It's also quite a winning bike, isn't it, so far? So, understandable. A worthy winner there. What have we got for this week then, John?
Well, we're going to go back to Adelaide, where I'm going to show you this week's bikes. And good news, I'm in my flip-flops again.
Oh, good God.
Now, this week's Bike of the Week time, where you get to vote for your favourite bike. First up is this Argon 18 Galleon Pro from the Astana Pro team, complete with Shimano Dura-Ace Di2, Prologo saddle, power to max power meter, finished off with these Corima wheels. And this Cannondale Super 6 of EF Education First Drapac. So we've got ourselves obviously the Cannondale Super 6 frame, FSA bars and stems, Shimano Dura-Ace Di2, Prologo saddle, SRM power meter, and finally a pair of Vision wheels. You know what to do, you have to vote up there for your favourite. Next week we'll have 2 more bikes for you to vote on, as well as revealing the all-important winner of this week's Bike of the Week.
Right, it's time to get involved in the bike vault. We have to say we're absolutely loving going through all of the entries that you send in over the course of the week.
Yeah, there's so many being sent, you can't
Amazing.
keep up. So apologies, if we don't reply straight away.
Yeah, and indeed, obviously, if your bike doesn't get in, so it's not a bearing of how nice your bike is. It's just because it's been involved in an avalanche of other bikes. So anyway, we'll get around to it, I'm sure. Let's start this week though. With this one. This is a Dassie, clearly, picture of the Dassie HQ. This is Geordie Steve's bike. John? I'm feeling like this is starting off.
Do you know what, mate?
With a super nice.
Super nice. It's graphene. Good news is, it's back. Customs gave it back to me.
Anyway, no, I think we've got to say, cranks, horizontal.
Yep.
Very nice. Skin wall tyres, love those. Campagnolo wheels, like those. We've also got really nice angle of the handlebars and the STI levers. Aesthetically, that's bob on. I quite like a flat transition there. Just looks right, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right proportions.
Do you know what? I can only find one fault with that.
What's that?
The valves don't match up with one another. Right, well, this is Mark Foucault from Quebec in Canada. Apologies, Mark, for my poor pronunciation. As you know, my pronunciation is terrible.
Hey, he's got a tube on there.
No, he hasn't.
No.
It's a toupee.
Right, okay, anyway, John, how are his valves?
The valves are, I'm just looking, well, they're not perfectly aligned, but they're close enough, I suppose.
It's a lovely bike, though.
Yeah.
Let's not beat around the bush. Yeah. That is one super nice looking bike,
Yeah.
although... Is it super nice?
Do you know what? I think it is. I like the rock it's leaned up against for a start.
Right.
Think, you know, it's just a nice looking rock. It makes me think he's in the countryside somewhere. He's seen that rock and he's thought to himself, going to take a picture of that and send it into the GCN.
It's a nice looking rock.
Yeah,
the best thing you've got for that guy's
Right.
amazing Da Vinci with SRAM red on it is he's lent against a nice looking rock. John.
All right, what do you give it?
It is a nice for
Okay,
me. I'm
right.
sorry.
So,
I love
yeah.
the bike, but I think I'm not a massive fan of coloured tyres. So
Oh,
even
yeah,
though
I
it's
agree, actually.
beautifully colour coordinated, I'd stick a set of black tyres on there or some skin wall.
Yeah, skin wall.
But don't, I feel bad saying that 'cause it's an amazing looking bike, isn't it? And it's a lovely rock.
Right. Ollie Howe of Norfolk in the UK.
Wow.
Look at this. Do you know what? Instantly, that bike screams personally super nice.
Yeah, and it's a well-constructed shot, isn't it? We've
Yeah.
got a nice brick wall, it's nice and clean. It's got the new Dura-Ace on there, cranks in the right position.
Valves are in the right position. 6 o'clock.
Handlebars, though, I'm not liking the
Ooh.
orientation of your STIs to bar ratio there. But anyway, I'll let that slide,
Yeah.
John.
Super nice from me.
Go on then.
Oh, there we go. Right. Now, I know what you're going to give this bike already
Yeah.
straight away. Tim Flott of Belgium and this Kinesis.
His cyclocross bike,
Nice looking bike, that, isn't it?
very nice. Very nice. I'm a
It's
sucker
nice.
for a cyclocross bike, but this
Wow.
is really cool, isn't it? Really clean. We got SRAM 1 by on there. We got has he got mechanical disc brakes on there? Yeah, he must do. Looking at those levers,
Yeah,
mechanical
it's-
discs.
Yeah.
Nice skin wall tyres
Yeah.
on there. It's just a well-proportioned bike.
A couple of bottle cages. Tim Flott, he goes out on adventures, I reckon.
Yeah.
Nice.
Is it a nice or is it?
Do you know what? It's super nice for me.
Yay!
And you? Yeah. I guess right. Right, finally, we have Ziga Muha of Slovenia. Lapierre here. Letting up nicely against the wall. I'm giving it a nice, actually, because the cranks, they've just got to be at that 3 o'clock position.
Yeah, it's looking cool, isn't it? There's quite a lot of spaces under that stem, so the aesthetics are a little bit out proportion-wise, but it does look like that'll be a lot of fun to ride, doesn't it?
Yeah,
That is a
I do
very,
like it, yeah.
very nice looking bike. But yeah, for me too, it just misses that super nice edge. Perhaps if you take a picture of it in front of an amazing view,
A rock.
or a nice rock, then perhaps that will upgrade it. Because at the minute, I think it's the grey wall and the grey floor. It's kind of thrown us off a little bit. So maybe let's have a bit more kind of impact in the back shot. That would help.
Yeah.
But still,
Nice
lovely looking
bike,
bike.
that, yeah.
Thank you very much for sending it
We
in.
don't see many Lapiers. That's a nice bike.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Right.
Is that it for this week, John? I believe it is.
I've gone through them. Yeah.
Closing the bike vault. Do keep them coming in. Like I say, even stuff that doesn't get in the show, we absolutely love looking through. We are bike geeks after all.
Yeah.
And any picture of a bike is a good picture of a bike.
Remember to submit them to the email address on screen right now and include where you come from as well. It's important so that we can tell everyone. Right, well, we're nearly at the end of the show this week, but the good news is we've got more great content for you. So on Friday, I'm back in the tech clinic answering your problems. On Saturday, I got to check out Nelson Oliveira's Canyon bike for 2018.
Oh, can't wait to see that one.
Lovely bike.
Sunday, this can be a bit of a controversial one actually. We did a little investigation for our Sunday feature. Are stiffer bikes really more efficient? Do you actually lose energy through frame flex? That's right, we did a little investigation, and I think you're going to find it quite surprising actually, so do make sure you check that one out. Then on Monday, John is right back here in the workshop with another Maintenance Monday.
Then of course, next week on Thursday, we're back here for the GCN Tech Show again.
That's right, happy days. But do make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. And also, if you haven't seen it already, the 650B versus 700C video. There's a double header on the channel. So on GCN, we had a long form version, but then right here on the Tech channel, we got to geek out big time. So if you haven't seen that one, get through to it just down there.